Hey Gen Z, I want to talk to you for a minute. As a Gen Xer, I know that there's a lot of noise about your generation, but most of it just doesn't understand you. You are not wrong about everything. You're just navigating a completely different world than we did. And I want to take a minute to break it all down and maybe give you a little advice at the end. When we were growing up, things seemed a little simpler in some ways and also harder in other ways. Most of us came of age in the 80s and the early 90s, and it was a time of economic recession, uncertainty, and a society that was telling us to be self-reliant and pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. It wasn't easy for us like you might think. The economy wasn't kind to us either. So when we had to make our way in the world, we were told to figure it out on our own. And that's what most of us did. We didn't get any emotional support. We didn't have the resources that many of you have today. We didn't even have the internet. And we were just trying to survive. Now, many of my generation are getting ready to retire, but they don't have the finances. And for a lot of us, it's way too late to fix it. I'm not going to lie. There are a lot of angry, bitter Gen Xers out there, and they're giving the rest of us a bad rap. It's easy to get caught up in the frustration of looking at the state of things and realizing that we were sold a dream that never really existed for most of us. Gen X was misunderstood too. I don't know if you know this. I remember the older generations looking at us and calling us the entitled generation. They labeled us as lazy and selfish, and honestly, I get it. Now watching the way people treat you, I understand exactly what that feels like. You're fighting your own battles, and you deserve respect for that. And your challenges are so much harder in some ways. I see you fighting a different kind of battle, and I respect it. First of all, social media is a beast of its own. It's not just a tool for connection, it's a constant stream of comparison, anxiety, and the pressure to be perfect. The pressure to perform is real, and your self-worth often feels tied to the number of likes, followers, or shares that you get. That is a huge mental load to carry. And I get it, the constant surveillance and the feeling of never being able to disconnect is exhausting. You guys don't get to just be anymore. You'll never know the joy of taking off for a few days with a friend, no one knowing where you're going, where you end up, unless you call from a hotel or a payphone to check in. You don't even know what you're missing, the joy of getting lost on purpose, of being off the grid anytime you left the house. We're all tied to these dumb little computers in our pockets now, and we feel anxious when we leave it behind. I do too. You'll never know what life was like before that. Then there's the economy. Unlike our generation, which dealt with layoffs and corporate instability too, you guys are also watching the housing market skyrocket and student loan debt climb with no clear way out. It's hard to even imagine buying a home or achieving the financial independence that we thought was achievable by our 40s. And don't get me started on job insecurity. Many of you are stepping into a gig economy where stability feels like a distant dream. You're building careers in a world where job security feels like a thing of the past. And I will mention the political climate, although I usually don't like getting political. The world is changing faster than ever, and many of you are on the front lines trying to make your voices heard. And it's a chaotic political landscape right now, the worst I've ever seen. We've all watched climate change denial, ongoing political gridlock, racial injustice. You're inheriting the mess that my generation and the others behind us left you, and that's a heavy burden to carry. But I see you fighting, and I see you pushing for change, for a future that takes care of all of us. There are a few more things that I really admire about your generation. For example, the way you're approaching work-life balance is something I admire. A lot of people call you lazy, but I see it differently. As someone who has recently stepped back from the 9-to-5 grind and found more balance and simple joy in my own life, I can absolutely appreciate that anti-grind perspective. Kudos to you, Gen Z, for waking up and realizing that life is more than hustle and grind. You are rewriting the rules, and I think that's powerful. And also, let's talk about your tech skills for a minute. I'll admit I'm a little above average when it comes to tech for my generation. I had a Commodore 64 computer at home in the 80s thanks to my dad, who was also a tech lover. And I learned basic programming on an Apple IIe computer in high school, one of the first classes to do that. I've always stayed up on technology, and I've led a team remotely for 10 years, so I've had to stay current to function. But you guys, your tech skills are on a whole new level. And as much as I think I know already, I'm learning updated skills from you. And I gotta say, I really appreciate it. You're helping us keep up in a world that is changing fast. You know, there's actually a lot of things that we have in common. First off, we both love sarcasm. It's like the universal language of the misunderstood. We were both loathed by the generation before us for how we talked, how we dressed, and our music. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to the criticism that you get for the way you express yourself, and it's the same thing that we heard. But you know what? We wore that criticism like a badge of honor, and you should too. Maybe you already are. And here's a thought that I had. Gen X is the last generation to remember the world without the internet. But Gen Z will be the last generation to remember the world without AI after we're gone. Just like the internet changed things in ways that we never could have imagined, I'm sure AI is going to do the same thing. So maybe in 40 years, you'll be writing a similar letter or making a video to whatever generation comes after Gen Alpha. Gen Beta, maybe? I think it's safe to say that change is inevitable and that both of our generations are in the unique position to witness and help shape that change. We had our time, now it's yours. Here's something I do want to say, maybe a little advice if you'll take it. You all, just like us and everybody else, didn't really get any financial education in school. And many of you are already dealing with the fallout of trying to make it in today's economy. But here's the thing that you do have that we didn't. I'll say it again, the internet. Use it for good. Please don't get caught up in mindless social media scrolling, bullying, negativity, shallow content. Use the internet to learn what you need to know. My generation had this thing we called street smarts. It was what we learned about real life outside of school. You have the internet for that. You don't need the streets. I was almost 30 years old before I even had the internet in my house. And I was almost 40 when I got my first smartphone. You guys have that stuff from the time you can walk. So my advice to you is this. Use it to learn about money and any other skill that you want to develop. And also use it to take care of your mental health, not make it worse. There are so many great resources out there. Most of them are free if you know where to look. Don't let the noise drown out what really matters. Gen Z, you are navigating a world of challenges that we couldn't even have imagined. You're taking on problems that didn't even exist in our times. Just like we had things that you know have never seen, like rotary phones. You're trying to survive while fighting for a better world. And I want you to know that I see the good parts of you. Your passion, your courage, your vision for a better future. It's inspiring. A lot of my Gen X cohorts still don't understand you, and maybe I don't fully either, even though I have a couple of older Gen Z kids myself. But I'm trying, and to be honest, it's not too late for us to learn from you and for you to learn from us. You care deeply about the world. You care about the future, even when it feels like it's slipping through your fingers. And that's something that I admire about your generation. So here's my final message to you, Gen Z. Keep going. Don't let the noise or the cynicism of older generations stop you. The world needs your energy, your ideas, your commitment to make things better. I'm with you. Now, please stop being mean to me in the comments, okay? I'm a tough old lady. I might kick your ass. But seriously, keep fighting the good fight, Gen Z. And if you're still here, thank you for watching to the end. I hope you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.